Five presidential candidates, they sat down with CNN for one-on-one interviews. One of the most talked about topics that came up with the Democrats was Israel, of course, on the day the candidates spoke to AIPAC.
The United States, time and time again, has looked aside when Israel has done some bad things. I think, for example, that the growth of settlements in Palestinian territory is not acceptable to me and not conducive to the peace process.
I am staunchly in favor of Israel's security, and although we may have differences, which we do, I believe in treating those in a respectful manner, candid but respectful, which is what I have done in the past. We have to stand against what's happening in the broader region, which I think is not just a threat to Israel, but a threat to our other partners in the region and even to the United States.
Now, as for the Republicans, Donald Trump was talking about NATO and says the U.S. should rethink its relationship with the group and the role its allies play.
Yes, because it's costing us too much money. And frankly, they have to put up more money. They're going to have to put some up also. We're paying disproportionately. It's too much. And frankly, it's a different world than it was when we originally conceived of the idea and everybody got together.
Now, Ted Cruz, who is of Cuban descent, was asked about President Obama's historic trip to Cuba. And earlier today, he repeated those sentiments, this time in light of the tragic terror attacks in Brussels.
The time for the president's political correctness has passed. The first priority of the commander-in-chief should be keeping America safe.
Kasich tweeted a similar call for the president to return from Cuba now that there's been a terror attack. Trump is doubling down on his call for waterboarding, and Hillary Clinton tweeted out this response to that. We can be strong and smart without advocating torture or bigotry. We will not let fear dictate our foreign policy. Republican strategist Gianno Caldwell joining me now to talk more about this. Thanks so much for joining us, Gianno. How does the Brussels attack change the conversation on the campaign trail?
Well, it changes the conversation because it favors the Republicans. Specifically, Donald Trump has been speaking out against radical Islam for some time, and he's been making note that folks like Hillary Clinton and President Obama has not called it radical Islam. So when you think about these issues and you think about the level of fear that's been leveled against many Americans' minds, because I think about when I was at high school when 9/11 happened, people are still fearful of those times. They remember them clearly, and they want somebody that's going to make them feel safe. They want to hear somebody that's going to talk tough, similarly to George W. Bush back in those days. So at this particular point, people are going to be looking at people like Donald Trump and some of the other Republicans to hear what they have to say because they just want to be safe.
All right, so you're saying that this attack could favor Donald Trump. Donald Trump, one of the candidates, releasing a list of their foreign policy advisors yesterday. Some people saying those foreign policy advisors not experienced enough. You also remember Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State. This could actually benefit her as well.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you think about incidents like Benghazi, that's not something that many Americans believe has been beneficial to folks like our former ambassador. They believe that she made the wrong call, in my opinion. ISIS is a different kind of beast. It's not Osama bin Laden. They generate about $2 billion a year in revenue, and they're dropping their propaganda on social media. So when you think about those many different avenues and individuals who've spoken tough on these issues, whether they have the most experienced foreign policy advisors or not, people are going to go for the individual with the most inflamed rhetoric on the issue because that makes them feel safe. They believe that Donald Trump is going to do what he says when he says he's going to stomp out ISIS. The president has proven that he's not, per se, the most expert person.
Gianno Caldwell, we're going to have to see how the polls reflect what you're saying and what has taken place over the last 24 hours. We appreciate you joining us very much. Coming up, continuing coverage